true. It's definitely summer. It is the middle of July, and here is the Phoenix real estate market update. Look, on a national level, rates are just flat. And when I say flat, they are just hovering right around that high 6, almost 7% interest rate. But here's the thing. I'm getting calls from buyers that think that interest rates right now are 8 and 9. I don't know where that's coming from. Look, the expectation of 2 to 3% is way behind us. It's not going to happen again. And just shy of another COVID, it's not going to happen. Fours, it's going to be a very long time if we ever see fours again. Fives, my prediction is going to be probably about 18 to 24 months. You're waiting for those rates to come down. Prices, although volume of sales has gone down, prices continue to rise. Now, this is on a national level. And here in the greater Phoenix area, when we are seeing incredible job growth and more companies that are moving here left and right, and companies, large companies that have been building out here for not 1, not 2, but 4 years, are going to be opening up in the next year or two, thousands of high-paying tech jobs. So there's going to be more than 1 million people still moving here over the next 10 years. So again, prices, although thankfully aren't skyrocketing anymore, they are at least going up. So the 2 ways to really get into buying a home today, and this is important for you sellers to know too, because if you want to sell in today's market, you got to cooperate. Here's the thing, guys. Message to all sellers. Sellers need buyers more than buyers need sellers right now. Yep. It is a buyer's market where the market is going up itsy bitsy. So let me tell you, buyers, there really has not been a better time, literally in not only 10 years, but almost 20 years since we've seen such a great opportunity for buyers. Now, here's the 2 exceptions that I'm talking about. Number 1, resale. If you are working, first of all, with a wholesale lender, you are not only going to save on closing costs, but you're going to start with ahead of the other horses running out of the gates, because all these additional fees haven't been tacked on. They don't have extra layers that banks and other lenders, mortgage companies, banks, I already said banks, might have already added on. So we make that introduction. And then when we go to write an offer, more than 60% of the transactions that are happening out there today have seller concessions. Most of those seller concessions are in the price points up to about $750, but we've actually secured, yes, $1.2 million home, and we were able to get 2% towards closing costs. So there's really not a threshold as to where sellers are providing concessions, and that's where many of these sellers are making grave mistakes. They are listing their homes way too high because they're thinking, well, I have to pay a buyer's closing costs in this market, or some of the closing costs. And if I have to plan for concessions, I'm going to bump up my price. And then what happens is they sit around. And they're not going under contract. They're not even being shown. And guess what we see? This is what you're seeing on Redfin and Zillow, is you're seeing those price reduction. Because if your home is not priced well to start with, you're not going to get the showings. If you don't get showings, you're not going to get any offers. Now, here's the other thing. Everything is changing in the real estate world before you see me again next month in August. On a national level, you know what? We're going to come back to that. See, it's a little teaser there. Let me finish my setting the expectation on interest rates. So we have been able to, as late as this week when I'm cutting this video, we have been able to get our buyers into 5.5% interest rate on new construction, 5.99 in resale. So the second part that I was going to get to is the builder opportunities. Now, here's the thing, guys. Every buyer has certain pros they're willing to accept with those cons. There's usually the pros are, I want new, I want fresh, I want the new style, I want modern, I want the high ceilings, but the cons are going to be further out, a community that isn't completed, maybe higher property taxes. You got to give us a call because a lot of these master plan communities have what they call CFDs, and they don't disclose it to you up front. And the builders are also kind to give you all the money to pay for your closing costs that you don't even know what you're really paying for because they're the ones that are paying for it. But let me tell you, when it adjusts and you're paying those property taxes, Arizona in Maricopa County, if you did not know, is 0.64%. Some of these master plan communities, are you ready? Up to 1.1%. That is almost double. Let me tell you, if you're buying a home in the $500,000 price range, you certainly don't want to add an extra $500 a month for your property taxes. This is why you need to give us a call, even, and more important, even if it's new construction. I know the new construction sales reps are super helpful and they'll be like, oh, come on in. That's okay if you don't have a realtor. We'll take good care of you. And they will. They'll be honest and truthful. No, honest and truthful. That's it. Oh, wait, isn't there any more? Don't they have to be forthcoming? Don't they have to tell you about all this stuff? If there was a problem, do they have to let you know? No, they don't. It's just honest and forthcoming. That's it. I'm sorry, not honest and forthcoming, honest and truthful. Yeah, they can't lie. They have to tell the truth. That's it. That's the only requirement they have for not being your realtor. They do not represent you. They're not trying to get you the best possible deal. They are there to sell the house. Their fiduciary responsibility is their employer. That would be the builder. So remember that before you go in on your first visit. But here's the thing with the builder. If you're okay with all those other things, the builders are offering, as some, you have to read the fine print. There are a couple of builders that are offering 4.99%, but it's not on their entire inventory. It's on a couple of spec homes that they're kind of also using it as that bait, meaning 4.99%, come on in. And you go in there and they're like, yeah, this is the one house that's 4.99. And you're like, that's not the one I wanted, or I don't like the color, I don't like the way it's facing, I don't like the cabinets, whatever it is. You got to give us a call because we get those lists before they actually go on the internet, which is what you're searching. Buyer confidence, believe it or not, is staying pretty strong despite the fact that we have the higher interest rates. We are only seeing a decline of about 20%, although this time of year, it always goes down. Here's the thing. Luxury does not like heat. Wealthy people will go where it's comfortable. Wealthy people have the higher end homes in Scottsdale. These are their second homes. They're here during the enjoyable months and they disappear in the summertime. So we also see a little bit of a correction as far as we're seeing new inventory, and most of that is from new construction, but we also see a decline of inventory because all those luxury homes are coming off the market. It's a very complex market. And when you go to Redfin or Zillow and you look at what their analysis is, they're kind of taking some very generic algorithm, and it doesn't necessarily reflect the correct information. Motto for me this summer is going to be fall in love with the deal, not necessarily the house. And what I mean by that is there is still some very competitive markets. We're going to see strong competition in the Chandler, Gilbert, Scottsdale areas. There is also opportunities in these areas if you pick the lesser desired home. If you can get one of the many opportunities out there to take advantage to buy in a high demand area where people aren't fighting over the house, you stand to win the contract for an amazing property that you might not be able to get in if you wait a couple more years when interest rates might come down and prices still continue to rise. Couple of ideas here for you. Number one, if you have good credit and this is your first time buying a home, so first time home buyer program, you can get up to 3% down payment, up to $15,000 given to you. You don't even have to pay it back. If you are looking for details on that, you got to give me a call. That is a program that's not going to stick around when interest rates go down and more buyers are buying homes. This is a program that's offered by a lender that's trying to get more buyers in. They're paying you to buy a house. Give us a call. The second one we talked about a little bit already was the seller providing closing costs for buyers. So that means you have less money to bring in. You still have to cover your own down payment, or a family member can also gift you money for that down payment, but nobody else can help you with that down payment other than that loan program. And so the closing costs that you would normally pay, have the seller pay for it, have the seller buy down your rate. We've even had sellers put in a new AC. We've even had sellers put on a new roof. We've had sellers pay off solar panels. What an amazing win. There's so many deals out there that are not going to be there when the market gets better. And then here's the other thing I want to mention. The last part of this year, I anticipate even more deals than what we have already gotten from for our buyers. Builders permits were up last month. That means they're speculating even more new construction next year. They want to move their inventory. I'm telling you, there is going to be some fantastic year-end deals. And if you haven't already spoke to us, get in touch with us so that we can get you on the track and ready to go when these deals come across our desk. Because like I said, it's not like pick whatever house you want and this is the deal you get. It's literally like a couple of deals that they're going to be dangling in front of us. And we want to get you in to the most perfect deal. Again, deal, not the house. That's 2024. That's my message to you. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in real estate come August. Here's the thing, guys. I haven't seen anything. No, I shouldn't say anything. I haven't seen much on the news. And I'll tell you, it's going to be coming out in Arizona within the next 2 weeks because it goes into effect August 1st in Arizona. Nationally, it will be going into effect on August 17th. So Arizona is going to have a 2-week trial and see how it works out. So what is all this going on? And I'll tell you, it's going to be very confusing for the first 6 months, if not longer. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy because what the DOJ wanted and what's going to actually roll out as a result of it might be two different things. It's going to be a little chaotic, but it'll definitely work its way out. I, for one, think it's a good thing. Here's the thing, guys. A seller, when they are a homeowner, when they are getting ready to sell their home, they meet with usually 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 different realtors. And they talk about what exactly they're going to be doing for what fee. And they actually put pen to paper and there's an agreement signed and they move forward with their contractual agreement. Well, the buyer side has kind of always been open, like maybe it was discussed, maybe it wasn't discussed. What exactly does the realtor do? And how do they represent you as the buyer? And if they represent the seller, how does that impact you as a buyer? And there's been a lot of grayness. And that's when the DOJ came in and said, no more. Buyers are going to have more choices and they're going to have a better understanding of what the realtor is supposed to be doing for them. And it is, again, a mutually agreed contract where the agent is going to be providing these services and in return will receive this compensation by the buyer. Now, before you freak out, the buyer is the one that's entering in the contract and ultimately the one responsible for that compensation to be paid. Now, you're going to want a skilled realtor because the realtor now has been given the opportunity and the encouragement to negotiate their compensation. So I, as a buyer's agent now, will no longer see what is being offered by the seller, nor will the buyer. So we have to establish contact with that listing agent in some form. And it can be just about any form except for on MLS. Call, text, email, secondary website, pigeons, smokestacks, whatever. We're going to find out what the seller is offering as compensation. Now, if that number doesn't match the number for the buyer, and therefore the buyer might be responsible for a portion of that, and we're unable to negotiate that, and that's why you want a good agent to negotiate their compensation, then we have another conversation with the buyer and let them know that we are unable to negotiate that. And do they still want to see the home? Now, even if there's a little bit from the seller and a little bit from the buyer, there's still an opportunity to have the seller still cover that if they decide to write an offer. We can submit an addendum to the purchase contract where it has the seller paying for that additional compensation in addition to the original compensation that they had offered initially. That could come from a couple of different ways. It could come from the seller directly to the buyer agent. It could come from the seller to the buyer to be paid to the realtor, or it could just come from the buyer or a combination of any of those three. Can this get any more confusing? Yeah, that's what we said too. Needless to say, we are being forced with this task and we plan to make it work. But again, this is why you want to work with someone that you know is not only going to represent you in the largest transaction that you are probably making today, but you want to have someone that's experienced with buyer representation, that understands the market, understands also negotiation tactics, experience, skill sets, knowledge, and background to get you the best possible deal. So if I didn't cover it earlier in my video, remember, today it's all about the deal and not about the house. So if you are thinking of buying, don't be afraid of all these things that are going on. You got to give us a call. We'll have a one-on-one conversation with you. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Days, nights, or weekends, we got your back when moving to Arizona. And if you're thinking of selling and you want to have a better understanding of what all this means, give us a call. We'll be glad to have a conversation with you. All right, guys, until next time, I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and I can't wait to report next month to see how things went with the new changes. All right, talk to y'all soon.